Hey, this is the absolute beginner's guide to microdosing psilocybin mushrooms 2024 version. Finally, I think it's the third annual one I know I did, yeah, I did 2022, 2023, and now 2024. And a little bit late, but better late than never. In this episode, I'm going to share with you exactly, if you're a beginner, it is geared for beginners, exactly from start to finish how to microdose magic mushrooms, psilocybin magic mushrooms. I'm Dr. Dave. This is Microdose U. Welcome.
Enter the world of magic mushrooms with Microdose U.
Hey there, Dr. Dave, Microdose U. I'm so glad you're here. If you're brand new to this podcast called Microdose U, I want to share with you my website. It's simply microdoseu.com. The word microdose and then the letter U tacked onto the end, microdoseu.com. A lot of great resources there. Also, in every episode I do here, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening or watching, there are always show notes that give you some very important links to further your resources, information, study, and experience, and things like that. I got a lot of good stuff for you, including my Facebook group, private Facebook group. And make sure you check the show notes for the password. No, not the password, the passcode. What do I call it usually? Whatever, you know what I mean. There's a password that's going to help get you into that. So love to see you there. Let's get started. Like I said earlier, this is geared to you if you just you're curious, you've never microdosed before, you're just getting started, you need help, you don't know exactly how to do this. This is for you. We're going to take it kind of slow, but I'm not going to keep you too long. I'm going to try to be really concise and just give you the information you need. And keep in mind that if you need more, I offer a one-on-one mentoring coaching program. That's the right word, program, a one-on-one mentoring or coaching program that we work together and with my colleague, Dr. Denise Moret, who is a doctor of psychology. And we get you through this. We help you with, because every single person is different. Your needs are different than the next person listening to this or watching this. So we go one-on-one. It is a paid program, but it is well worth it because it's life changing. It's not medical advice. Like nothing I give you here is medical advice. And also, just be careful. And we recommend using psilocybin magic mushrooms in areas where it is allowed. Okay, having said all that, let's get into the beginner's guide, the absolute beginner's guide to microdosing, or for microdosing magic mushrooms, psilocybin magic mushrooms. So let's start off with a really simple question. What is microdosing? You probably heard the word. It's really popular now. It's been popular for quite some time now, but you might not be exactly sure what microdosing is. So microdosing is taking a sub-perceptual dose of, usually it's referred to in a psychedelic, but you could microdose anything. I guess you could microdose Tylenol. I mean, I don't know why you would want to do that, but you could probably microdose anything. Microdose just simply meaning a very, very micro dose. It's used with psychedelics because this is for people that don't want to actually take a psychedelic trip, or they want to be able to do this on a regular basis and improve your life, but not have to worry about, not being able to do it at work, or finding a quiet place, or going through a psychedelic trip and seeing colors and all that stuff. Though you can microdose on a regular day where you go to work and you're driving to work, because I'm going to share with you how to do this. And it's not going to affect your daily life in any way. You're not going to be high. You're not going to be tripping. You're not going to be seeing patterns and colors. No, this is microdosing. So, and it's every bit as effective. And I've shown this over 3+ years of my microdosing. It's every bit, if not more effective than those who claim you got to take a large dose. So we're not going to get into the microdose versus large dose in this. I've done other stuff on that, but this episode today is to really share with you exactly how to microdose. Generally, they say a microdose is about 1/10 the dose of a psychoactive or psychedelic dose, but that's very loose, and don't quote me on that, and don't go by that necessarily, because I'm going to be helping you with the doses in this episode, exactly how to get started and what your doses should be to get started. Now, um, who is microdosing for? You might be watching or listening to this and like, is it for you? What do you want to improve? What do you want to change in your life? And I've got a list of a few things, and it's not all inclusive at all, because there are many reasons to microdose. And one of the reasons could be just because you just want to feel a little bit better every single day. And you don't have really any issues, but you just want to feel clearer, a clearer mind, and you just want to feel better. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's absolutely a valid reason to microdose. But some of the most common reasons to microdose are to improve your mental health. And in that category, there are so many things. The most common, of course, are anxiety and depression, PTSD, but it runs the gamut. If almost any type of mental health issue can be improved through microdosing. ADHD, OCD. The list is very lengthy. So just let's have the category of mental health issues. If you're suffering from some type of a mental health issue, and just to let you know, that's what got me into microdosing 3.5 years ago, because of my depression and anxiety. I just needed something to take care of this, and pharmaceuticals just weren't really. They were doing okay, but my life is worth a lot more than okay. I wanted to feel great. I wanted to feel incredible every single day, and not just okay from an antidepressant or some type of SSRI or anti-anxiety. I really wanted to kill it. I wanted to be the best I possibly can be. And just being a little bit muted on a pharmaceutical was definitely not what I wanted to do. Not good enough for me. Also, let's see, if you want to be more creative, you're an artist, you're a musician, you're something that you want to enhance your creativity. Well, this is absolutely for you, no question about it. Increase your spirituality. If you have an addiction problem, microdosing is really good to help you with that. It's been shown time and time again to help with addiction. One common thing now that's getting more and more popular, people are microdosing because of the state of the world and our country and current events and the craziness out there. And without being political at all in any way, no matter what party or no matter what you believe in, or no matter what you think politically or globally or internationally, there's a lot of craziness with wars and global warming, the presidential election that's coming up in the United States. It's oh my God, there's so much, and a lot of people are feeling depressed and anxious due to this stuff. That's very common. So that, yeah, microdosing can certainly help you with that. And also something that's really interesting that we're finding out more and more about it. And I don't claim to be an expert, and there's not enough research, but it's been shown to really help things with aging related issues, Parkinson's, dementia, memory issues, Alzheimer's, and again, a very, very long list of things that issues that people, especially people that are maybe aging, can be dealing with. Microdosing psilocybin mushrooms has been shown to help with these things. So, as you can see, the list is very long. The examples I gave you are not fully inclusive. I mean, there's so many more, but that's just a little short list to get you going. What is psilocybin? What are magic mushrooms? Well, psilocybin is the psychoactive ingredient in psychedelic mushrooms, many of which are under the species of Psilocybe cubensis. That is a very common. Is that the species or I think it's species or genus? I think it's species. Psilocybe cubensis. But you don't have to know this stuff. I'm just kind of giving you an overview right there. You don't have to know that at all. Whether you know that or don't know it, it's not going to really help you in your microdosing journey. But I just want to throw it out there. They're different species or different strains. The most common strain of or even variety of magic mushrooms, psilocybin magic mushrooms that I want you to look out for when you talk to your person that you're getting this from. And again, I don't discuss where to get this, where to source. That's something that I just did an episode on just last week, I think it was. So check for that, where to buy magic mushrooms. But I kind of got around actually sharing with you exactly how to do. You'll see what I mean. But if you don't know anything at all about where to get these, um, this beautiful, beautiful sacred medicine, I urge you to take a look at that, or listen to that last episode I did. It was, I think, last week. So you'll find it. Just do a search on my podcast here for where to buy magic mushrooms. But talk to your grower and whoever you're getting these from, and ask them. You want like a mild, uh, a mild variant. And typically we recommend something that's called golden teachers. And if you can talk to talk to the person who you're getting these from, say you want something like golden teachers or similar, because I recommend not starting off with a strain or variety or whatever it's way too strong. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult to titrate. So take something like golden teachers. And again, you don't need to know really anything more than other than what to tell the person you're getting this from. Golden teachers or something very similar. Now, how do we start? How do we start? Well, first of all, let's talk about the form of magic mushrooms. You're not just going to get a magic mushroom that looks like the kind you get in a grocery store, a mushroom, and just start eating away at it. You're not going to do that. There's many reasons, but also the magic mushrooms you're going to be using are going to be dried and ground up. Whether you dry them and grind them up, or whether your grower or your source dries them and grounds up. The reason is because when let's say you're holding just a magic mushroom, one magic mushroom, the psilocybin is dispersed differently depending on what part you would necessarily take a bite out of. So let's say you have a magic mushroom and you take a bite out of the stalk. There may or may not be a lot of psilocybin there, but if you take a bite out of the fruit part, the cap, there might be more psilocybin there. So it's really erratic, and you're not really sure how much you're getting. And even if you take a bite off and weigh it, or cut a piece off and weigh it, it's not going to be accurate, only because the psilocybin is not distributed evenly throughout the mushroom. So what I recommend is, if you do this yourself or the person you get it from, is you dry the magic mushroom and you grind them in like a coffee grinder or a mortar and pestle or something like that, where you grind it up into a fine powder. And when you do enough of this and you mix it all together, it's going to be pretty evenly dispersed. So then when you weigh it, you're pretty sure from dose to dose, you're going to be getting something that's fairly similar to the last dose you took. But again, if you just take a bite off of a mushroom, you're not guaranteed that at all. And it could be, especially for a beginner, that could be a really tough route to go. So I don't think you should. I don't recommend doing it that way. At least as a beginner, start. And even even like somebody like me, I generally don't do it the way I like to have it dried, ground up, and then put it all together. And then every time you take a dose, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. How do we consume magic mushrooms? There are different ways to do it, for sure. I'll tell you my favorite, especially for a beginner. I'll tell you my favorite, and that is to have your magic mushroom powder weighed out and put in capsule form. That is by far the easiest way to do it, and the most predictable. From dose to dose, it's going to be in capsules. They're going to be the same, and typically they're in 100 milligram capsules. Typically, that's the amount. Well, I'm going to get to that, but that's typically the amount I recommend, starting with 100 milligrams or 0.1 gram. It's the same thing. Convert back and forth between milligrams and grams. 100 milligrams or 0.1 grams. But you could also do it in tea form, which means you're putting that, or somebody's doing this for you, putting it in a tea bag. Same amount, 0.1 gram or 100 milligrams. And by the way, it's going to be a really good idea for you to understand how to convert back and forth, because people that you're getting this from may talk to you either in grams or milligrams. So again, 100 milligrams is a good starting dose And when you convert that to grams, which they may speak in grams, it's 0.1 gram. So tea is a very popular way to do it. Also, some people cook the psilocybin into or bake it into a chocolate bar, which I really like. However, I don't think that's necessarily good for beginner because you're typically going to have to like take a bite out of it or cut a piece of chocolate off. So I think the best way to do it is in capsule form. Get your capsules in 100 milligram doses or tea bags. And again, your 100 milligram doses are really good. So where do you actually start? Where do you start? Well, I just alluded to that. I got my notes back in front of me. They just dropped a little bit, but I would start with 100 milligrams, 0.1 gram, and get your capsule ready or your tea bag ready, and do this on day one. First day you're going to start. Don't be afraid. Don't be worried. Again, remember, it's not a psychedelic dose. You're not going to feel high. You're not going to be stoned. You're not going to be tripping away, with seeing colors and patterns. It's not going to happen with a microdose. My very first dose was 200 milligrams or 0.2 grams. And I'm asking you to only do half of that. Now, is it possible for a small number of people this could feel a little bit strong to you? It's possible, yes. It's not likely, but it is possible. But let's just back up for a second. What's the best time of the day to microdose, and what's the best way to do it, on a full stomach or an empty stomach? So I typically recommend doing it in the morning before you start your day, first thing in the morning when you're doing your morning routine or right before breakfast. And I recommend doing it on an empty stomach because it's just going to be absorbed faster. Now, you can do it on a full stomach, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, if you've got very sensitive stomach and things like mushrooms upset your stomach, then yeah, you can do it on a full stomach, and you're less likely to have any kind of GI issues. Also, if you do ever experience GI issues, nausea, diarrhea, again, not very likely, but it does happen sometimes, then I recommend looking at a lemon tech technique, or again, the tea bag technique works pretty well. I'm not going to talk about lemon teching because it's a little bit beyond the scope of today's episode. However, I've done episodes on lemon tech, and it's lemon, the word lemon, and the word tech, T-E-K, generally, that's the way it's spelled, T-E-K. I'll just do a search for that on my podcast, and that should probably come up as well. I have talked about that before. But it's just a way to kind of extract the psilocybin or the psilocin, which is the precursor to that, out of the mushroom, so you don't have to really be ingesting the mushroom. It kind of pre-digests it, if that makes sense. So again, a little bit beyond the scope of today's episode. But what I want you to do is start with 0.1, like I've said, 0.1 or 1.1 gram or 100 milligrams. You've got the capsule in front of you. You swallow it. You can say a little, you can do a little meditation ceremony, whatever you want to do. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. But the most important thing is that you swallow this capsule or drink your tea. That's and by the way, again, I've done episodes on the tea, but if you're steeping a psilocybin, a magic mushroom tea bag, steep it the same way you would steep a regular tea bag. You can actually put regular tea in there as well. You can add regular tea, green tea, black tea, oolong, whatever you want to do. Herbal is fine. But just steep it for, say I would steep it for at least 5 minutes, just to make sure everything is extracted from the mushroom and that goes into the hot tea. Yes, I would do that. Now, what I'd like you to do is after you microdose, and the very first time you do it, it is best, even though you're not going to really have any psychedelic effects, it's best to do when you don't have any other responsibilities. Like in other words, the very first time you microdose, I don't want you to swallow a capsule, eat your breakfast, and then drive to work. Because again, in most cases, you're going to be fine. But in some cases, you might feel a little bit weird. And if that's the case, we need to back off a little bit. And you don't want to be at work you don't want to be driving when that happens. So the very first time you do it, let's make sure you don't have any other responsibilities and you're just able to dose. I remember the first time I did it, I just dosed and I sat in front of my TV for a little while and watched a little TV, and then went over to the park and put some headphones or earbuds in and listened to some music. And I was fine. Totally, totally fine. But again, that was with 200 milligrams. And I just want to make sure you're fine with 100, and you will be. But for some reason, if you're not, make a note of that. And then the next day, back it off to 50 milligrams or zero point zero 0.05. And if you only have 100 milligram capsules, you might have to open up the capsule and just split it in half. And that's not difficult to do. And same thing with a tea bag, split the contents in half, and you'll have voila, 50 milligrams instead of 100. Now, I also suggest doing this on a pattern. And the pattern I recommend for starters, and this might be a little bit different than I shared with you last year or the year before, because it's not an exact science. It's not like a pharmaceutical where you need to take an exact amount every morning and you can't miss a dose, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that at all. But you do want to take some time off just to rest your body and give your body a break from the magic mushroom. So what I'm going to recommend is you dose 4 days in a row, microdose 4 days in a row, same way, exactly like I told you, in the morning with capsules, and then take a 2-day break. And then after 2 days of not doing the dosing, then you start again, 4 days on, and then another 2 days off. And this pattern just keeps repeating. Now, I will share this with you. 100 milligrams, even though it's your starting dose, might not be the dose that you continue with. So what I'm trying to say is this is a good starting dose, but if you don't feel anything at all, see, and now in my past episodes, the absolute beginner's guide, I would say that you shouldn't feel anything at all. And after 3 years now of my personal journey, I'm going to modify that some. And you should feel a little something, but it should not be high, stoned, psychedelic, patterns, colors. It shouldn't be that. But what should you feel? You should feel a little bit different, just a little bit different. And it's hard for me to put into words what that means, a little bit different. But you should feel that something is going on. And again, it's different for everybody, but you should feel, let's just say, something. And if you're feeling a little something, and a lot of times that little something could just mean you feel a little bit better, a little bit clear minded, a little bit different. And that's really, really good. That's what you want to feel. So after the first go around, after the first cycle of 4 days on and 2 days off, when you dosed, if you didn't feel anything different whatsoever, I'm going to recommend that you increase your dose next go around, which would be, so I would increase it to maybe 150 milligrams, or you can even go to 200. In the past, I was way too careful to take you up very, 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 very slowly. But you know something, again, 200 milligrams was my starting dose, and I was totally fine. So you don't have to wait and go from 100 to 150 to 200. I would just double it if you don't feel anything at all. Now, remember, when you double it, I would still use that first day of 200 milligrams, same as your first day of 100. So in other words, let's make sure you don't have any responsibility that first day and just kind of be able to hang around somewhere, watch a movie, watch a little TV, go to the park, take a walk, whatever you want to do. But just make sure whenever you're upping a dose, don't just jump in your car and go to work, or don't say, I'm going to go ahead and watch my kids for the whole day, because you never know. And you might get to that dose where it feels a little bit too strong. And then, you got to back it off a little bit, 50 or 100 milligrams, you back it off. And then that's going to be your standard, or your dose that you normally dose. Once we get to a point where it feels a little strong, you back it off just a little bit. And again, remember, it's not an exact science. You can back it off 50 milligrams if you want. That's 0.05 grams. Back it off just a little bit. But the point is, if you start to feel something that just feels too strong, and it's a strong feeling that you don't want to go to work with or drive with, and you don't want to be safe, then you'll know to back it down a little bit. And most likely that's going to be your dose, and continue 4 days on and 2 days off. And again, that's not set in stone. That's not something you have to do to the T. You might want to go You might want to go 5 days on, or you might want to go 3 and take only 1 day off. It's not exact. I'm giving you kind of a roadmap to start with, but again, depending on your situation and how you're feeling and what you're doing that day, you can vary it just a little bit. I think, again, in other beginner's guides that I've recorded in the past, I was a little bit more stringent, a little bit more strict. My roadmap was, again, definitely more, it was more definite and more defined and more strict. But now I'm seeing that, okay, no, this is not, it's not an exact science. As long as you understand what you're doing and you know when to increase and when to back off, you're going to be totally fine. But use that as a rule: 4 days on, 2 days off, starting at 100 milligrams. How quickly should you feel better? Should you start to feel better? That's a really tough question. And that one really does vary between person to person. I started feeling better almost right away. Now, some of that might have been placebo effect. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, because if you feel better, it doesn't really matter what's causing that better feeling. But I can assure you this: over my 3.5 years that I've been microdosing, it's not a placebo, because there's no way a placebo would last that long. It just couldn't. A placebo would not last that long. A placebo could last a little while, but eventually it's going to catch up with you, and your depression or anxiety is going to overshadow that placebo effect. So I am positive that psilocybin magic mushrooms have totally taken care of my depression and anxiety. Every day I wake up feeling great. I just, my mind is clear. I'm more successful in what I'm doing every single day, whether it's mental or physical, or athletics or skiing or whatever it is. Learning Japanese even. That's another thing, by the way. If you're in school and you want to, you're whatever it might be, you're learning something. I'm taking Japanese lessons right now. I've been doing it for a little while now. This really, really helps your brain, your cognitive ability, for sure. And throw in a little lion's mane, and that's a little bit beyond the scope. Again, beyond the scope of this episode. But I've talked about lion's mane. It's another mushroom. It's not non-psychoactive mushroom that certainly helps with cognitive ability, for sure. Oh my God, it's some great stuff. Great stuff we're learning here. So this is a start, the absolute beginner's guide. Many people ask, well, how long am I going to have to do this? Like, you're telling me to do 4 days on and 2 days off, but does that mean for like a month or a year or forever? Okay, well, here's my answer to that. I don't know. I've been microdosing on and off, and mostly on, for 3+ years, because when I think it might be time to stop, I continue, and I continue feeling better every day, every week, every month, every year. And it's very interesting, because the first year, the mushrooms are very smart. That's why they're called golden teachers, or teachers. They know what to do, and they know where to act. The very first year, they helped me take care of my mental health situation, depression and anxiety. But then after that was taken care of, they kept improving other things: my physical ability, my health, my skiing, even. And they're still continuing to improve things. I'm doing things now at age 69 that I couldn't do when I was 40. What are some of those things, you might ask? Well, a lot of physical things. I found out yesterday that when I was at the gym doing a circuit class, that I can now do things like touch my toes and stretches that I could never do before. And you might say, well, actually, mushrooms aren't doing that. Well, yes, they are, because they get you to be able to do things and practice things that you just couldn't do before. Like, I never wanted to take the time to learn how to stretch properly or do a proper yoga pose or things like that. So they get you to focus better and really improve your life in so many ways. So my answer to when you say, well, how long am I going to have to microdose? I truly don't know. But if you're anything like me, I just keep it going because the way I look at it is why would I stop something that is improving my life every single day more and more? But there wouldn't be anything wrong with stopping if you wanted to, as long as you're feeling great. There's nothing wrong with that. And the final thing I'm going to cover in this episode is many people think that you have to take a large dose to help out with your mental health issues or whatever you're trying to cure or improve. They say if you've got to take a large dose, you have to, because the people that take large doses, they're fixed right away. Well, yes and no. I have proven that microdosing, and not only me, but so many people I've worked with and people that I don't even know, microdosing absolutely will work for you. It's not an overnight fix. And you have to do things alongside of the microdosing. It's not just a matter of swallowing a capsule or drinking some tea every single day. It's a lot more than that. I've done a lot of episodes on that. And again, I'm not going to be talking about the side work or the shadow work that you have to do along with it, but it's very important. So I urge you to check out more of my episodes when I talk about that, because it's not like taking a antidepressant or an SSRI or a pill or a pharmaceutical. It's not like that. You can just take those and get on with your life. No, with microdosing, you need to do other things alongside of that. And I've, again, listened to my other episodes, and I will be doing more on that because I talk about that all the time. Super, super, super important. But those of you that those people that tell you, well, you've got to take a large dose because anybody that takes a large dose, they're cured with one dose, and it's like equal to 20 years of psychotherapy. Well, I could disprove that one in a second. And I'm not saying that large doses are bad. And I'm not saying that they're not helpful. I'm not saying that. However, how many people do you know that have taken a large dose of psychedelics sometime in their life and their life is still messed up? Something's wrong mentally or whatever. I can name a ton of people that I know that have taken large doses of psychedelics and they're not right. They're not mentally healthy. So anybody that says take a large dose and that's going to do it for you, that's just simply not true. Okay, so I hope this episode, the absolute beginner's guide, 2024 version, the absolute beginner's guide to microdosing psilocybin magic mushrooms, has helped you in a big way. I want to congratulate you. You're on a journey. You're at the beginning of this journey that is going to absolutely change your life. Remember what I said at the beginning. It's not medical advice. I'm sharing personal stories, my personal story, and stories from people that I've worked with for at least 3 years now. And again, if you need something a little bit more, such as one-on-one mentoring or coaching, just check my show notes and we can help you, absolutely help you with that. Our program has been really successful, taking people from scratch that are really experiencing some very tough things in their lives and turn them into people that are getting through every single day comfortably, gliding through without any of these mental health or actually even physical health issues, because again, everything is connected. Everything. So I am Dr. Dave. Remember, I put out a brand new episode of this show, Microdose U, every Wednesday and every Friday. So please check the back catalog and subscribe, and make sure you check out all future episodes, because I put my heart and soul into every single episode I do, or I will not publish it. I don't put junk out there. It's not worth it to me, and it's not worth it to you. So every episode that I publish is going to help you in some way. I promise that. And at the end of every episode, if you're brand new to me here, at the end of every episode, I always say, I love you. And I really do mean that, because without you, I would not have a podcast. I feel your energy. I feel your presence. And I feel that you are really going to be changing your life very, very soon and very quickly. Okay. Till next time, I really hope this helped you. I am Dr. Dave. This is Microdose U.